You sit down to breathe. You close your eyes. You follow the inhale, the exhale. You do this because somewhere inside you believe the breath will carry you away from what you're feeling. Like a raft. Like an escape route. And maybe it does for a moment. Maybe the rhythm soothes you. Maybe the counting gives your mind something to hold. But then the feeling returns, the tightness in your chest, the heaviness in your stomach, the restlessness that won't name itself. And you breathe again, hoping this time it will work. This time it will take you somewhere else. But what if the breath was never meant to rescue you? What if you've been using it as a wall between you and what's actually here? You tell yourself you're being mindful. You tell yourself you're practicing. But underneath, there's something you're not willing to touch, something you're breathing around, something you're hoping will dissolve if you just focus hard enough on the air moving in and out. And it might fade for a little while, it might quiet down, but it doesn't leave, it waits. And you know this, you felt it waiting. This is what we do. We find something that feels spiritual, something that sounds like growth, and we use it to avoid the very thing we need to meet. The breath becomes a distraction dressed up as presence. The practice becomes a place to hide. And there's no judgment in this. It's so human. It's what the mind does when it meets something too sharp, too raw, too uncomfortable to hold. But the breath doesn't make anything go away. It only reveals what's already here. And what's here is what you've been turning from. Maybe it's grief you haven't cried. Maybe it's anger you've been taught is unacceptable. Maybe it's loneliness so vast you don't know how to stand in it. Maybe it's shame that feels like it will consume you if you let it speak. Maybe it's just the ordinary ache of being alive, of not knowing, of wanting things to be different than they are. You breathe because you don't want to feel it. You breathe because feeling it means letting it be real. And if it's real, then you have to stop pretending. You have to stop managing. You have to stop waiting for the moment when everything finally feels okay. The breath won't rescue you because there's nothing to be rescued from. There's only what you're feeling. And it's impermanent. It rises and it falls. It changes shape. It moves through you like weather. But you don't trust that. You think if you let it in fully, it will stay forever. You think if you stop resisting, you'll drown. So you keep breathing. You keep focusing. You keep hoping the next exhale will finally bring relief. But relief isn't the same as freedom. Relief is temporary. Relief is the feeling going away for a while. Freedom is meeting the feeling so completely that you stop needing it to leave. Freedom is being able to sit with your own heart, even when it's breaking, even when it's heavy, even when it doesn't make sense. The Buddha said, you can only lose what you cling to. You've been clinging to the idea that you shouldn't feel this way. That if you were doing it right, if you were spiritual enough, evolved enough, present enough, this feeling wouldn't be here. And so you use the breath to prove you're trying, to prove you're working on yourself, to prove you're not just sitting in your pain like someone who's given up. But what if sitting in your pain isn't giving up? What if it's the only honest thing left to do? The breath doesn't need to rescue you. It's just breathing. It's been breathing this whole time, whether you paid attention or not. It doesn't care what you're feeling. It doesn't judge you for hurting. It just moves, in and out, steady, simple, unimpressed by your suffering and unimpressed by your avoidance. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the breath isn't the hero of this story. Maybe it's just a mirror, showing you that you're here, that you're alive, that something in you is unwilling to feel, and something else is tired of running. You don't have to fix this. You don't have to resolve it. You don't have to turn your breath into a tool or a technique or a way out. You can just notice. You can notice that you've been waiting. You can notice what you've been unwilling to feel. You can notice how tightly you've been holding the hope that something outside this moment will save you from this moment. And in the noticing, something shifts. Not because you did it right, not because you finally let go, but because seeing is its own kind of softening. The feeling is still here, the breath is still here, and so are you. You're breathing carefully, not naturally, not without thought. You're watching each breath like someone watching a test they can't afford to fail. Inhale, hold, release. And somewhere beneath it all, there's this quiet hope that if you do this right, if you breathe the way you're supposed to breathe, maybe this one thing will finally count to success. You've tried so many things. You've tried to be better, to feel better, to do better. And somehow breathing became another task, another performance. Another chance to prove that you're capable of getting something right, even if it's just this, the simple act of air moving in and out of your body. But notice what's happening. You're not just breathing, you're grading yourself. Each breath carries a question. Is this deep enough? Am I doing it correctly? Am I calm yet? And when the breath doesn't feel perfect, when your mind wanders or your chest tightens, there's that familiar disappointment. Even here, in something so basic, you found a way to fail. The suffering isn't in the breathing, it's in the measuring. It's in the need for this moment to prove something about you. You've turned breath into evidence. Evidence that you're improving. Evidence that you're finally taking care of yourself. Evidence that you're not as lost as you sometimes feel. And so you breathe carefully. You breathe with effort. You breathe like someone building a case for their own worth. But what are you trying to prove? And to whom? There's no judge sitting in the corner of your room scoring your inhales. There's only you, watching yourself, waiting for this breathing to transform into something that feels like achievement. Waiting for the moment when you can say, "See, I did it, I got this right." Except the moment never quite comes, does it? Because even when the breath feels smooth, even when you manage to stay present for a few cycles, there's always the next breath. And the next. And the question returns, am I still doing it right? Am I losing it? Was that last breath not as good as the one before? You've created a task that can never be completed, a test that has no final grade. And in that endless loop, you're exhausted. Even rest has become work. Even breathing has become something to accomplish. This is what craving does. It takes anything, even breath, even silence, even stillness, and turns it into a project, into something that must be done correctly to earn peace. But peace earned is not peace. It's just another condition, another requirement, another way of saying, I'm not okay yet, but maybe if I breathe carefully enough, I will be. The breath doesn't need your supervision. It's been breathing you since before you had thoughts about breathing. It will continue long after you stop trying to control it. But you've made it personal. You've made it about you. And now every breath carries the weight of your identity, your progress, your desperate hope that this time, finally, you're getting something right. The Buddha said, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your compassion. But you're not offering yourself compassion. You're offering yourself conditions. You're saying, I'll accept you when you breathe correctly. I'll approve of you when you prove you can do this one small thing without failing. And beneath that, there's fear. Fear that if you stop trying, if you stop measuring, if you stop breathing carefully, you'll slip back into whatever you're trying to escape. Chaos, anxiety. The feeling of being someone who can't even get breathing right. So you keep watching, you keep controlling, you keep hoping that this careful attention will finally add up to something that feels like enough. But what if it doesn't? What if you breathe carefully for years and still feel like you're failing? What if the breath is never perfect enough, never proof enough, never the thing that finally convinces you that you're okay? Then what? Then you're left with what's actually here. Breath moving, thoughts arising, the feeling of wanting something to be different than it is, the ache of trying to earn your own acceptance, all of it just happening. None of it needing to be right or wrong. None of it needing to prove anything. You're breathing, right now. Not carefully, not carelessly, just breathing. And the question isn't whether you're doing it right. The question is, can you feel the difference between breathing and trying to breathe? Can you notice the gap between what's happening and what you think should be happening? You don't have to answer. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to breathe any differently than you're breathing right now. But you can see it. The grasping, the measuring, the quiet exhaustion of turning everything, even breath, into another chance to finally be enough. And maybe, just for now, that seeing is enough. You sit down to focus on the breath and something happens. You notice it, maybe without words at first. There's a subtle turning away, a gentle push against what was just here. The thoughts you were having, the feeling that was sitting in your chest, the restlessness in your body. You're trying to leave it behind, not violently, not dramatically, just somewhere else, somewhere quieter, somewhere that isn't this. You can feel it, can't you? The breath becomes a doorway, a way out. You focus on the rising and falling, and for a moment there's relief. The noise dims, the weight lifts, and you think, yes, this is working, this is what I needed. But what are you actually doing in that moment? You're creating distance. You're saying to your experience, not you, not now. I'll go here instead, where it's calmer, where I don't have to feel this. And maybe that's fine. Maybe that's what you need right now. But notice what's happening underneath. You're trying to leave behind the very life you're living, the worry about tomorrow, the conversation that didn't go well, the loneliness that sits with you at night, the frustration with yourself, the ache of wanting things to be different. You focus on the breath, and you're hoping, quietly, secretly, that when you return, it will all be gone. But it never is it? You open your eyes, and the thoughts are still there, the feeling is still there, maybe softer, maybe quieter, but there, waiting. And so you focus on the breath again, and again. Each time, trying to leave a little more behind. This is the loop. This is where the suffering multiplies. Because now you're not just carrying what you were carrying before. Now you're also carrying the disappointment that focusing on the breath didn't make it disappear. You're carrying the belief that you're doing it wrong. That you're not focused enough, not present enough, not calm enough. You're trying to use awareness as an escape. And awareness becomes just another place to hide. What if the breath isn't a doorway out? What if it's a doorway in? What if every time you focus on the breath, you're not leaving something behind? You're just seeing more clearly what you've been avoiding. The breath doesn't make anything go away. It just reveals what's here. The tightness, the reaching, the fear, the wanting, all of it right here breathing with you. You think you're focusing on the breath to find peace. But maybe what you're really doing is refusing the moment you're in. Refusing yourself as you are. Refusing the discomfort of being human. And that refusal, that's the suffering. Not the thought itself, not the feeling itself, but the turning away. The hoping it will be different. The belief that somewhere, somehow, if you just focus hard enough, you'll finally be free of yourself. The Buddha said, you can search throughout the entire universe for someone who is more deserving of your love and affection than you are yourself, and that person is not to be found anywhere. But you keep searching, don't you? You keep trying to leave behind the parts of yourself that feel too heavy, too messy, too much. You focus on the breath and hope that this time you'll come back as someone lighter, someone easier, someone who doesn't carry all this. What if you don't need to leave anything behind? What if the breath is just showing you that everything you're trying to escape is already here, already moving, already changing on its own? The thought you had 5 minutes ago, where is it now? The feeling that seemed so solid, is it the same as it was when you first sat down? Even the self you're trying to improve, trying to calm, trying to fix, is it the same self from moment to moment? Nothing stays, not the discomfort, not the peace, not even the breath itself. You're focusing on the breath, trying to leave something behind. But maybe the real question is, what if there's nowhere to go? What if this moment, exactly as it is the only moment there's ever been? You don't have to answer that. You don't have to fix it or figure it out. You just have to see it. See the reaching, see the turning away, see the quiet belief that somewhere else is better than here. And in the seeing, something softens. Not because you made it soften, not because you focused hard enough, but because you stopped trying to leave. The breath is still here, and so are you. And so is everything you thought you needed to escape. You're sitting there trying to focus, trying to stay with something, a task, a conversation, a thought you wanted to hold. And then you notice your attention has drifted again. And in that moment of noticing, something happens, something sharp. You feel it, don't you? That small contraction, that flash of irritation or disappointment aimed directly at yourself. You punish yourself, not loudly maybe, not dramatically. But you do. Why do you do that? Not why in the sense of finding a reason to fix it, just why? What's happening in that moment when you turn against yourself? You wanted your attention to stay, you needed it to stay, and it didn't. It wandered off like a child in a store, distracted by something shiny, something easier, something else. And when you noticed it was gone, you felt like you'd failed, like you should have been stronger, like you should have been more present, more disciplined, more something. But look at what you're doing. You're punishing yourself for something that already happened. Your attention drifted. That's already done. It's already over. And yet you're adding something extra to it. You're adding judgment. You're adding the story that you shouldn't have let it happen, that you're weak for letting it happen, that if you were better, it wouldn't have happened at all. Do you see? The drifting itself isn't the suffering. The suffering is what you do afterward. Your attention drifts because attention drifts. It's not personal. It's not a failure. It's just what attention does. It moves. It shifts. It follows what's bright or loud or comfortable or familiar. That's its nature. But you've decided it shouldn't be that way. You've decided that you should be able to control it completely, hold it perfectly, keep it exactly where you want it. And when you can't, you feel like something's wrong with you. You punish yourself because you believe you're supposed to be in control. But are you? Are you really in control of where your attention goes? You can guide it, yes, you can invite it. But can you force it to stay? Can you make it obey you every single moment? And when it doesn't, when it slips away, does punishing yourself bring it back? Does the sharp voice inside your head make you more focused? Or does it just make you more tense? It makes you more tense. You know this. And that tension becomes another thing your attention wants to escape from. So it drifts again, and you punish yourself again, and the cycle continues. You're trying to control something that can't be controlled, and every time it proves itself uncontrollable, you take it personally. But your attention isn't you. It's not a reflection of your worth or your strength or your goodness. It's just attention. It comes, it goes, it moves, it settles, it wanders, like breath, like weather. You wouldn't punish yourself because the wind changed direction. You wouldn't feel ashamed because a cloud passed over the sun. And yet with your attention you do. There's an old Zen saying, you cannot stop the birds from flying over your head, but you can stop them from building a nest in your hair. Your attention will drift. Thoughts will come. Distractions will arrive. That's not the problem. The problem is what you build on top of it. The story, the judgment, the punishment. That's the nest. You think the punishment will make you better. You think it will teach you, discipline you, keep you sharp. But does it? Or does it just make you afraid? Afraid of drifting, afraid of failing, afraid of being caught, not paying attention. And that fear doesn't make you more present. It makes you more rigid, more exhausted, more split between the part of you that's trying and the part of you that's watching and judging. You're not just living, you're also monitoring yourself, grading yourself, waiting to catch yourself slipping so you can deliver the punishment you think you deserve. But who decided you deserve it? You did. Somewhere along the way, you decided that drifting attention was unacceptable, that it meant something bad about you, that you needed to be harder on yourself to make up for it. And now you're locked in this pattern, punishing yourself for being human. Your attention drifts because you're alive, because your mind is active, because there are 10,000 things calling for your awareness at any given moment. It's not a flaw, it's not a weakness, it's just what happens. And the punishment? That's just another layer of suffering you're adding. Another weight you're carrying, another way you're making this moment harder than it needs to be. What if you just noticed? What if, when your attention drifted, you simply saw it? Not with disappointment, not with frustration, just with seeing. Oh, it drifted. And then, gently, without the punishment, you brought it back. Or you didn't. Maybe it wasn't time to bring it back yet. Maybe it needed to wander for a moment. The punishment doesn't help. It never has. But you keep doing it because you think you should, because you think that's what it means to try. But maybe trying doesn't require punishment. Maybe it just requires seeing. Your attention drifted. That's all. Just that. Nothing more. You sit down to meditate, or to journal, or to finally face what's been sitting in your chest for weeks. And somewhere in that first breath you expected to change. You expect the weight to lift, the tightness to soften, the years of building this particular kind of pain to somehow dissolve because you've decided just now to look at it. One inhale. And you're waiting for it to undo what took years to build. You can feel it, can't you? That subtle impatience, that quiet demand. You finally turn toward yourself, finally stop running, and now there's this unspoken expectation that the work is done. That awareness itself should be enough. That seeing the pattern should break it. But the pattern doesn't break, the weight doesn't lift. And then there's this second layer of suffering that arrives, the disappointment that it's still here, the frustration that you're still you, the quiet judgment that maybe you're doing it wrong, or you're not trying hard enough, or this whole thing is pointless. You're asking one moment to erase 1,000 moments. One breath to undo what breath by breath, day by day, you built without even knowing you were building it. Think about how long it took. How many times you swallowed your anger instead of speaking. How many years you believed you weren't enough. How many small choices, barely conscious, that taught your body to brace, your mind to defend, your heart to close just a little bit more each time. It didn't happen all at once. It happened slowly. So slowly you didn't notice. Until one day you woke up and realized you've been carrying something so heavy you can barely remember what it felt like to stand up straight. And now you want it gone. Now. In this breath. In this moment of clarity. But that's not how it works, is it? And somewhere you already know this. You know that the layers that took years to form don't evaporate because you finally acknowledge them. You know that the grooves worn into your nervous system, into your thoughts, into the way you meet the world, they don't smooth out overnight. But still, you hope. You hope that this time will be different. That this realization will be the one that changes everything. That if you just see clearly enough, feel deeply enough, sit still enough, it will all finally let go. And when it doesn't, you feel betrayed by the practice, by yourself, by the promise that awareness brings freedom. Because you're aware now, aren't you? You see it, you feel it, and it's still here. What you're really asking for is control. You're asking for your intention to override time. You're asking for your will to collapse the process. You want to decide when the healing happens, how fast it happens, what it looks like when it does. But you can't control this. You never could. And that's the part that's so hard to accept. The Buddha said, "No one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path." But walking the path doesn't mean arriving. It means walking, step after step, breath after breath, seeing after seeing. Not because it's fixing anything, but because it's what's here to do. You're standing at the beginning of something, not the end. And the beginning feels like nothing is happening. It feels like you're still stuck, still the same, still carrying what you've always carried. Because you are. For now, you are. But something is different. You're here. You're looking. You're not running anymore, at least not in this moment. And that's not nothing. Even if it feels like nothing, even if it doesn't feel like enough. The years it took to build this, they're not wasted because they can't be undone in a single breath. They're just what happened. And this moment, this breath, this quiet willingness to see, it's just what's happening now. Not the cure, not the answer, not the end of suffering. Just this, just the seeing, just the breath that doesn't undo anything, but is here anyway. And maybe that's all it ever was. Not one breath that changes everything, but breath after breath, moment after moment, slowly meeting what you've been running from, slowly loosening the grip you didn't know you had, slowly learning that you don't have to be different than you are right now for this to be okay. You're still carrying it, and you're here. Both things are true, and perhaps that's enough for now, not because it feels like enough, but because it's what's real. You sit down to breathe and you tell yourself, this is about being present. This is about calming down. This is about finding peace. But somewhere beneath that intention, there's something else moving. A quiet hope. A reaching. You're breathing to become calmer. You're breathing to become more patient. You're breathing to become the kind of person who doesn't get triggered so easily, who doesn't spiral, who doesn't feel so much. And maybe that's what you've been doing all along, using the breath like a tool to reshape yourself, to sand down the rough edges, to become someone more acceptable, someone more spiritual, someone who has it together. But notice what's happening in that moment. You're sitting with yourself, but you're not really with yourself at all. You're with the version of yourself you're trying to create. The breath becomes a bridge to somewhere else, to someone else. And the person sitting here right now, breathing this actual breath, feeling this actual tightness in the chest, this restlessness, this doubt, that person isn't quite enough yet. There's a split happening. You're here, but you're also leaning into the future, into the person you'll be after enough breaths, after enough practice, after enough transformation. And in that leaning, you've left yourself behind. You breathe in and you're measuring. Is this breath calmer than the last one? Are you more centered now? Are you closer? You breathe out and you're checking. Did it work? Are you different yet? And the breath, which was just breath, becomes a performance, a test, a way to prove you're making progress. But who is it that wants to be different? Who is it that's not enough as you are? You can feel it, can't you? That subtle tension, that striving. Even in the stillness, there's effort. Even in the softness, there's control. You're trying to breathe your way out of yourself, out of your impatience, out of your anxiety, out of your humanness. And every breath becomes a quiet rejection of what's already here. The Buddha said, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your compassion. But you're not giving yourself compassion, you're giving yourself a project. You're turning your breath into a method for escape. And the person you are right now, with all the messiness and the fear and the grasping, that person is being asked to wait outside until they're better. Notice how exhausting that is, how you can never quite arrive. Because every time you think you become calmer, there's another moment of reactivity. Every time you think you become more present, there's another wave of distraction. And instead of seeing that this is just how it is, that calmness comes and goes, that presence flickers, that everything changes, you make it mean something about you. You make it mean you're failing. You make it mean you need to try harder. And so you return to the breath, not as a place to rest, but as a place to work, to fix, to improve, to become. But what if the breath isn't asking you to become anything? What if it's just breath? What if this moment, exactly as it is, isn't a problem to solve? You're afraid, maybe, that if you stop trying to change, you'll stay stuck. You'll stay anxious. You'll stay reactive. You'll stay small. But look closely at that fear. It's the same grasping, the same belief that who you are right now isn't allowed, that you need permission to exist, and that permission only comes after transformation. But you're already here, breathing, feeling, aware. And none of that needs to be different for you to be whole. The reaching, the striving, the using of the breath to become someone else, it's all just more suffering, more resistance to what is, more war with yourself. And you can see it now, can't you? How the breath was never the problem. How you were never the problem. It was always just this wanting to be elsewhere, this belief that here isn't enough. And now you're breathing, and maybe you notice the difference. Not because you've become someone new, but because you've stopped abandoning who you are. The breath is just breath, and you are just you. Imperfect, changing, here. And maybe that's all there ever was. You sit down to breathe, you close your eyes, maybe you settle your hands, and you wait for the breath to do something, to calm you, to fix you, to take away whatever heaviness or restlessness has been following you around all day. And when it doesn't, when the breath just keeps moving in and out like it always does, and you're still anxious, still tired, still carrying everything you brought with you into this moment, you feel something like disappointment, maybe even betrayal. What are you blaming the breath for not being able to do? You're blaming it for not making you different, for not transforming you into someone who doesn't feel this way. You wanted the breath to reach into your chest and pull out the knot that's been sitting there. You wanted it to smooth over the argument you had yesterday, the one that still plays in your mind. You wanted it to make you feel like you have it all together, like you're calm, like you're someone who meditates and therefore doesn't struggle anymore. But the breath is just the breath. It moves in, it moves out. It doesn't know what you want from it. And so you sit there breathing, still feeling everything you felt before, and now there's something else too. Now there's frustration. Now there's the thought that you're doing it wrong, that everyone else must be getting something from this that you're not, that maybe you're broken in some way that the breath can't reach. You're asking the breath to be a solution, to be the thing that finally works. You've tried so many things already, haven't you? You've tried working harder, resting more, changing your routine, changing your thoughts, distracting yourself, facing things head on. And none of it has made you into the person you think you should be by now. So you turn to the breath. And you're waiting for it to do what everything else couldn't do. You're waiting for it to make you enough. But watch what's happening. Watch how the suffering isn't in the breath at all. The suffering is in what you're demanding from it. The suffering is in the belief that you need to be different than you are right now. That this moment, as it is, with you in it, exactly as you are, is somehow not okay. You're using the breath as evidence that you're failing, evidence that peace is something other people have access to, but you don't. Evidence that there's something fundamentally wrong with you that even breathing can't fix. And the breath just keeps moving, in and out. Completely indifferent to your story about it. The Buddha said, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your compassion and your love. What if the breath isn't supposed to fix you? What if there's nothing to fix? What if the exhaustion, the restlessness, the disappointment, what if all of it is just passing through, like weather, and the breath is simply here, moving, while it all passes? You wanted the breath to carry you somewhere else, somewhere better, somewhere where you don't feel like this anymore. But the breath only exists here, right here, in this moment, with everything in it. And maybe that's what you're really blaming it for keeping you here, for not letting you escape into some future version of yourself who has finally figured it all out, for bringing you back again and again to what is instead of what you wish could be. You sit down to breathe because somewhere inside you know you need to stop running, but then you turn the breath into another race, another thing you have to do right, another way to prove yourself, another test you might fail. The breath doesn't care if you're anxious, it doesn't care if you're tired, it doesn't care if your mind is quiet or screaming, it just moves. And maybe that's the most honest thing in your life right now. Something that just is, without needing you to be anything in return. What are you blaming the breath for not being able to do? You're blaming it for not saving you from yourself, from your thoughts, from your feelings, from the simple, unavoidable fact of being human and uncertain and never quite settled. But the breath was never meant to save you. It was only ever meant to show you that you're here, that you're alive, that this moment is happening with all its imperfection and you're in it. And maybe that's enough, not because it feels good, not because it solves anything, but because it's true. The breath moves in, the breath moves out, and you're still here, exactly as you are, waiting for something to change. You feel it, don't you? That small opening in your chest when something finally goes right, when the pain eases, when the argument ends, when the worry lifts just for a moment. And right there, in that breath of relief, something else arrives, a whisper, a tightening. The thought, please stay. You're not even fully in the ease yet, and already you're trying to hold it. Already you're aware that it won't last. Already you're reaching forward into the future, into the moment when this feeling will be gone, and you're trying to stop that from happening. You're trying to freeze time with your mind. It's such a quiet thing, so ordinary. You finally sleep well, and the next night you lie there, hoping it will happen again. You have a good day with someone you love, and immediately you're wondering when you'll feel that close again. The headache fades, and you find yourself checking, waiting for it to return. The ease itself becomes a new kind of tension, because you already know. Nothing stays, not the good moments, not the bad ones, not the ease, not the pain. And knowing this, you grip a little tighter. You try to memorize the feeling, you try to make it solid, you try to turn a passing moment into something you can own. But you can't own a moment. You can't possess ease. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. And so, you're not really here, are you? You're not really resting in the ease. You're hovering above it, watching it, guarding it, afraid of losing it. You're already in the future, already in the loss, already in the grief of something that hasn't even ended yet. You're clinging to the moment before it's gone, and in that clinging, you're missing the moment entirely. This is how suffering works. Not just in the hard times, in the good times too, especially in the good times. Because when things are difficult, you know you're suffering. But when things are easy, you don't see it. You don't see how you're already building the next layer of pain, how you're already creating resistance to what will naturally come. The ease is here. And then it isn't. That's all. That's the truth of it. But your mind says, no, not yet, not now, let me have this, let me keep this, I need this, I deserve this, please don't take this away. And in that plea, you leave the moment, you leave the ease, you step into fear, into grasping, into the fantasy that if you just hold on tight enough, you can stop the river from flowing. The Zen master Shunryu Suzuki said, "The most important thing is to find out what is the most important thing. What is the most important thing right now? Is it the ease itself, or is it your need to keep it? You can feel the difference, can't you? The ease is light, spacious. It asks nothing of you, but the clinging is heavy. It's tight, it's already tired, already afraid, already mourning something that's still here. And this is where you are, right in the middle of it, experiencing something good and simultaneously experiencing the fear of losing it. Two things at once, the moment and the death of the moment, the presence and the absence. And you're trying to choose presence, trying to force yourself to stay, but the trying itself is the leaving. Because you can't cling your way into peace, you can't grasp your way into ease. The very act of holding on is the act of suffering. Not because ease is wrong, not because wanting things to last is wrong, but because it's impossible, because everything that arises passes away. Everything, the ease, the clinging, even the awareness of the clinging. So what are you doing right now? In this moment as you hear these words, are you at ease, or are you already wondering when you'll feel at ease again? Are you here? Or are you already preparing for the next difficult thing, the next loss, the next moment when the ground shifts beneath you? You don't have to answer. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to let go, because even letting go can become another form of grasping, another thing to achieve, another way to control what can't be controlled. Just see it. Just notice it. The ease when it's here, the clinging when it arrives, the fear underneath the clinging, the wanting underneath the fear, all of it moving, all of it changing, all of it completely out of your control and always has been. The moment is already going, it's already gone, and another one is here. And it's going too. This is what's happening. This is what's always happening. And you, standing in the middle of it, trying to hold water in your hands. You're sitting here breathing, and somewhere beneath the surface there's a quiet fear. Not the loud kind that makes you jump or run, the quiet kind. The kind that whispers just under each breath, what happens when this one ends? It's strange, isn't it? You've been breathing your whole life. Thousands and thousands of breaths, each one ending, each one followed by another. And yet here you are, afraid of the space between this breath and the next. Afraid of what comes after. You might not even notice it most of the time. But when you slow down, when you actually pay attention, you can feel it. That slight tension in your chest, that need to control the rhythm, that subtle clinging to the inhale, that resistance to letting the exhale fully go. As if holding on just a little bit tighter will keep you safe. As if you can somehow grip your way into certainty. But what are you really afraid of? Not the breath itself. The breath has never failed you. It's been with you through everything. Through every moment of your life, it's come and gone, without you having to manage it or make it happen. And yet, you're afraid. Afraid of the pause. Afraid of the emptiness. Afraid of what might not come next. This is where the suffering lives, not in the breath, not in what comes after. In the space between what is and what you think you need. You're creating a problem out of something that has never been a problem. You're turning the most natural thing in the world into something you have to survive. You do this with everything, don't you? Not just breath. You do it with time, with moments, with people, with yourself. You hold on to what's ending because you're not sure what's coming. You grip the present because you don't trust the future. You make a crisis out of transition because you've convinced yourself that letting go means losing control. But you were never in control. That's the part that frightens you most, not the breath ending. The fact that it ends without asking your permission. The fact that it comes back without you having to earn it. The fact that your life is unfolding breath by breath, moment by moment, and you are not the one deciding any of it. You want guarantees. You want to know that after this breath, there will be another. After this moment, there will be more. After this version of yourself, there will still be something left. But life doesn't work that way. Life only offers you this, right here, right now, this breath, this moment, and then it's gone. And that terrifies you. Because if you can't hold on to a single breath, how can you hold on to anything? If you can't control something as simple as the rhythm of your own breathing without fear creeping in, how can you possibly control your life, your relationships, your future, your sense of who you are? The Buddha said, all conditioned things are impermanent. Work out your own salvation with diligence. You're afraid because you're watching impermanence happen in real time, breath by breath. You're watching yourself dissolve and reform, and somewhere deep down you know you can't stop it. You can't freeze this moment, you can't make anything stay. And so you create suffering. You turn the natural ending of a breath into evidence of your fragility. You turn the space between breaths into a threat. You convince yourself that if you just pay enough attention, if you just try hard enough, you can make life feel solid, permanent, safe. But it never works, does it? Because the fear isn't about the breath at all. It's about you, about the one who's watching, the one who's afraid, the one who wants so desperately to feel in control that they've turned breathing into a test of survival. You're not afraid of what comes after this breath ends. You're afraid that you will end. That the you who is here right now, thinking these thoughts, feeling these feelings, holding this identity together, will disappear into that same emptiness. That you are just as temporary as the breath, just as uncertain, just as impossible to hold. And you are. You are ending right now, thought by thought, breath by breath. The you who started reading this is already gone. The you who is here now will be gone in a moment. And yet something continues. Something breathes. Something watches. Something remains, even as everything changes. But you can't grab it. You can't make it solid. You can't turn it into something you own. So the fear stays, and the breath continues, and you sit here somewhere between holding on and letting go, watching the same thing happen over and over again. The ending, the space, the return, and maybe that's all there is to see. You're sitting here breathing, and somewhere in the background of your awareness, there's this quiet comparison happening, this breath against another breath. This moment of breathing against how breathing used to feel. Maybe when you were younger. Maybe before the anxiety started. Maybe last year, or last month, or even yesterday morning when everything felt lighter somehow. You're measuring. Even now, as air moves in and out, you're holding it up against a memory. Against an idea of how this should be. How it used to be. And in that measuring, something tightens. Something contracts around the simple act of breathing. It's so subtle, isn't it? This comparison. You might not even notice you're doing it. But there's this faint sense of loss threaded through each inhale. This whisper that says, it's not like it was. Something's changed. Something's missing. And now even breathing, this most basic thing, carries the weight of before and after. The suffering isn't in the breath itself. It's in the measuring. It's in the way you're trying to find the old breath inside this new one, trying to recover something, trying to prove that you're still the person who breathes easily, who didn't think about breathing, who didn't have to monitor it or check it or wonder if it's enough. You remember how it used to be, or you think you do. You remember a version of yourself who moved through the world without this awareness, this vigilance. And now there's this gap between that memory and this moment. Between who you were and who you are. And the breath becomes evidence of that gap, proof of change, proof of loss. But here's what's happening. You're creating a story about breathing. You're turning this moment into a comparison, a measurement, a problem to solve. You're making the breath mean something about you, about whether you're okay, about whether you've lost something you can't get back, and in that story you suffer. Because the breath you're measuring against, that easy, effortless breath from before, it's a memory. It's not here. It never was the way you remember it. Even then, even in those moments you're reaching back toward, the breath was just breath. Impermanent, changing, sometimes deep, sometimes shallow, sometimes noticed, sometimes not. But memory smooths things over. Memory creates a golden version of before, a time when everything worked, when you didn't have to think or try or measure. And now you're here, in this moment, trying to breathe your way back to a past that exists only as an idea. The Buddha said, all conditioned things are impermanent. Work out your own salvation with diligence. Your breath is a conditioned thing. It changes with your body, your thoughts, your nervous system, your age, your state of mind. It was never meant to stay the same. It was never meant to be a fixed point you could return to. Even the breath you took 5 minutes ago is gone. Even the breath you're taking right now is already dissolving into the next one. And yet you're holding on. You're gripping this image of how it should be, how it used to be. And in that gripping, you turn each breath into a test, a referendum on whether you're still whole, still okay, still yourself. You can feel it, can't you? The way this measuring creates tension, the way it turns breathing into a project, something to get right, something to fix, something that proves you've changed in ways you didn't want to change. But what if the breath was never yours to keep? What if it was always just passing through? What if this breath, right now, with all its imperfections and differences and strangeness, is the only breath that's actually here? Not the memory of breathing, not the idea of how breathing should be. Just this movement of air, this rise and fall, this moment that's already different from the last one and will be different from the next one. You don't have to stop measuring. You don't have to fix this. You can't force yourself to stop comparing. But you can see it. You can notice the measuring happening, notice the way you're reaching back toward a version of breathing that isn't here, notice the suffering that arises in that reaching, and in the noticing, something shifts. Not because you're trying to shift it, but because seeing is different from believing. Seeing the comparison is different from being lost in it. The breath you're looking for isn't coming back. It was never a permanent thing. It was never meant to be. And this breath, the one that's here now, isn't wrong. It isn't broken. It isn't proof that you've lost something essential. It's just breath, changing, impermanent, unmeasurable against anything except the stories you tell about it. And maybe that's enough. Not to understand, not to fix, just to see, to notice the measuring, to feel the weight of comparison, to let the breath be what it is without needing it to be what it was. You're holding something in your hands that was never meant to stay there. Maybe it's a feeling you once had, the lightness of being loved or the safety of being needed. Maybe it's a version of yourself you used to recognize in the mirror. Maybe it's the way someone used to look at you, or the certainty you felt before the ground shifted beneath you. You know what it is. You can feel the weight of it right now, can't you? The heaviness in your chest when you think about losing it, the tightness when you imagine life without it. And you're holding on. Not because it's still here, not because it's serving you, but because letting go feels like losing yourself. You replay the moments when it was real. You scan your memory for proof that it can come back. You check your phone. You rearrange your day around the possibility of its return. You tell yourself stories about why it should have stayed, why it might still stay, why you deserve for it to stay. But underneath all of that, there's something you already know. It was never yours to keep. Not because you failed. Not because you weren't enough, but because nothing was ever designed to be permanent. The feeling you're chasing, the person you're missing, the version of yourself you're trying to resurrect, they all move through you like weather moves through sky. And yet you're standing here, arms wrapped around empty air, insisting it should still be solid. Do you feel how exhausting that is? How much energy it takes to hold on to something that's already gone? You wake up, and the first thing you do is reach for it. You go to sleep, and the last thing you feel is its absence. You're not living in this moment. You're living in the gap between what was and what is. That gap, that's where the suffering lives, not in the loss itself, but in your refusal to let the loss be loss. You keep thinking that if you hold on tightly enough, if you remember clearly enough, if you stay loyal enough to what was, it will somehow undo the ending. But it doesn't work that way. The tighter you grip, the more you ache. The more you ache, the more you're convinced you need what you've lost. And so you become a person who lives in the past, even while your body moves through the present. The Buddha said, "You only lose what you cling to." Read that again, you only lose what you cling to. Because when you hold something as if it's permanent, you turn it into a source of fear. Every moment becomes a test. Is it still here? Will it leave? Am I safe? And when it does leave, as everything does, you don't just lose the thing, you lose the story you built around it. You lose the identity you wrapped around keeping it. You lose the illusion that anything could ever stay. And that's the real grief, isn't it? Not that the person left, not that the feeling faded, but that you have to face the truth you've been running from your entire life. That everything you love, everything you are, everything you think you need, it's all passing through. Your hands were never meant to be vaults. They were meant to be open. But you don't want to hear that. Because if you open your hands, if you stop holding on, you're afraid you'll have nothing. You're afraid you'll be nothing. So you keep squeezing, you keep remembering, you keep hoping. And every day the thing you're holding gets a little more like a ghost, and you get a little more tired. What would happen if you just let your hands rest? Not because you've given up, not because you've healed, but because you're finally willing to see what's true, that it's gone, that it was always going to go, that your holding on doesn't change that, it only changes you. You don't have to like it, you don't have to be okay with it. You just have to stop pretending that your resistance will rewrite the past. What you're holding on to, it served its time. It came, it shaped you, and it left. That's what everything does. And your job was never to make it stay. Your job was to let it move through you, and then to keep living. But you can't keep living while you're clutching a memory, so maybe the question isn't what you're trying to hold on to. Maybe the question is, what are you afraid will be left if you let go? Sit with that. Not to answer it, not to fix it, just to see it. Because the suffering isn't in the loss, it's in the holding. And the holding, that's something you're doing right now. You forget, don't you? You forget throughout the day. You forget when you're scrolling, when you're eating without tasting, when you're nodding along to someone's words while your mind is somewhere else entirely. And then you remember. You suddenly become aware that you've been gone, that hours have passed, that you weren't present. And in that moment of remembering, something sharp arrives, a small cruelty, a quiet violence against yourself. You hate yourself for forgetting. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a subtle tightening, a disappointment, a sense that you should have been better, more aware, more conscious, that you failed at something you can't even name. You look back at those hours and see them as wasted, as proof of something wrong with you. You were human throughout those hours, and somehow that feels unforgivable. Notice how quickly it happens. You become aware, and immediately there's judgment. Immediately there's this measuring. This comparison between who you were in those forgotten hours and who you think you should have been. You create an image of the person who never forgets, who stays present, who doesn't get lost in distraction or habit or the simple drift of being alive. And then you punish yourself for not being that person. But look closer at what's actually happening. You're hating yourself for being human, for doing what every human does, for getting absorbed, for losing track. for being pulled by hunger or tiredness or worry or the 10,000 small currents that move through a day. You're treating your humanity as a failure. The hours you forget aren't separate from your life. They are your life. The distraction, the drifting, the automatic movements. This is what it means to have a human nervous system, a human mind. And yet you stand apart from it, watching it, condemning it, creating a you who judges and a you who is judged. Creating distance where there was only living. What if the hatred isn't about the forgetting at all? What if it's about the image you're holding? The image of who you're supposed to be? Someone who never forgets. Someone who is always present, always aware, always in control of their attention. That image is so perfect, so still, so unlike anything that actually lives and breathes. And when you compare yourself to that image, of course you suffer. Of course there's hatred, because the image never gets tired, it never gets overwhelmed, it never scrolls mindlessly or eats too fast or zones out during a conversation. The image doesn't forget, because the image isn't alive. But you are alive. And being alive means forgetting. It means drifting. It means coming back and drifting again. It means being pulled by things you didn't choose to be pulled by. This isn't a flaw in your system. This is the system. The Buddha said, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your compassion. You keep trying to transcend your humanity instead of meeting it. You keep expecting yourself to be beyond the ordinary struggles of attention and presence, and every time you fail to be beyond them, you turn that failure into evidence. Evidence that you're doing it wrong, that you're not enough, that you're broken in some fundamental way. But what if there's nothing to transcend? What if those hours you forget are just hours? Not good, not bad, just the texture of a human day. You were there in those hours. You just weren't watching yourself be there. And now you're hating yourself for not watching, for not being split into one part living, one part observing. See how exhausting that is. To always be watching yourself, to always be measuring, to turn every moment of unself-consciousness into a crime. You're creating your own suffering with this demand, this insistence that you should be different than you are. The hatred feels like it's about the past, about those hours you lost. But it's happening right now. Right now you're choosing to make yourself wrong. Right now you're tightening around your own humanity, and you'll do it again tomorrow when you forget again. Because you will forget again. That's not a prediction. That's just what happens. You can't hate yourself into presence. You can't shame yourself into awareness. The hatred itself is just another thing happening, another movement of mind, another way of being human throughout the hours. Maybe the question isn't how to stop forgetting. Maybe the question is whether you can stop hating yourself for it, whether you can notice the hatred as it arrives and see it for what it is. Not truth, not wisdom, just another pattern. Another way the mind creates distance, another way you make yourself the problem. You're here now, aware now. And even this awareness will fade. You'll drift again, forget again. And when you remember, the hatred might come again too. Or maybe you'll just notice it. Notice how it feels. Notice that it's optional. Notice that you're still here, still breathing, still human, still worthy of your own kindness, whether you remember or not.